that doesn't mean he is correct. These are his opening statements. And of course, the Daily Mail is fighting back. But let's pause and bring Angela Levin in here now, because Angela, you are Harry's biographer. You have looked very closely, of course, through all of his previous relationships. Chelsy Davy as a human being is in stark contrast to Meghan Markle. She was the height of discretion. She didn't want to be famous. She didn't leak details of their private life. She didn't leak details of Harry's family. She didn't pose for magazines. You know, she didn't want TV shows. She could have had all of that. She didn't want any of that, right? And it's very clear Meghan Markle is so unhappy about the fact that
a serious legal fight, a principled stand against media intrusion. Instead, it became something else entirely, a public autopsy of Prince Harry's past love life, played out live in court, under oath, and in front of the entire world. Because in one single courtroom moment, everything snapped into focus. If anyone was still wondering why Meghan Markle reportedly never wanted Harry anywhere near this Daily Mail case, this is exactly why. An old relationship dragged back into the spotlight, private memories turned into legal exhibits, and a man who claims to despise media attention voluntarily reopening the most intimate chapter of his romantic past and placing it on a conveyor belt for global consumption. Just to be clear, this video is commentary and opinion based on publicly reported court proceedings, media coverage, and public reaction. Now, let's be clear from the outset. This isn't about nostalgia. This isn't about some sweet, harmless trip down memory lane. This is about a man who claims to hate the press, claims to despise intrusion, claims to be traumatized by media attention, while voluntarily reopening the most intimate chapter of his romantic past and placing it on a courtroom conveyor belt for global consumption. You could not script irony like this if you tried. So, what's the issue here? Simple. Prince Harry is suing the Daily Mail, claiming unlawful information gathering, and in doing so, his own legal team has chosen to spotlight his relationship with Chelsy Davy, the woman many still consider the great what if of his life, the woman he dated before fame paranoia, before Californian activism, before podcasts and Netflix confessionals, and suddenly we're hearing about where he stayed, where he slept, how often he was at her home, what kind of couple they were behind closed doors. And Harry says this is all deeply sensitive, deeply personal, deeply distressing. Right, so distressing that he brought it back himself. And here's where the hypocrisy meter goes nuclear, because Harry wants the court to believe that this information could only have come from illegal sources, that no one else could possibly have known these details, that Chelsy didn't talk, that he didn't talk, that therefore journalists must have hacked, blagged, paid, or schemed. But here's the problem. Being private doesn't mean being invisible. Being discreet doesn't mean living in a vacuum. Royals don't exist in sealed containers. Friends talk. Staff talk. Social circles overlap. That's how journalism has worked for decades, especially royal journalism. But instead of accepting that uncomfortable reality, Harry has chosen the scorched earth route. And in doing so, he's dragged Chelsy Davy, a woman who very deliberately built a quiet, private life away from all this, back into the headlines. Ask yourself this. If you truly cared about someone's privacy, would you put them back under an international microscope nearly 20 years later? Or would you quietly let sleeping dogs lie? And this is where Meghan Markle comes into the picture, whether people like it or not. Because you cannot tell this story without acknowledging the elephant in the room. The contrast, the comparison, the unavoidable side-by-side of two women who represent completely different eras of Harry's life. On one side, Chelsy, famously media-shy, reluctant, uncomfortable with royal life, allergic to fame. On the other, Meghan, outspoken, brand-aware, media-savvy, and yes, deeply involved in shaping her own narrative. Now, before anyone starts screaming, this isn't an attack. This is public perception. This is the conversation people are already having, and the court case has turbocharged it. Because while Harry is insisting that Chelsy never leaked, never spoke, never played the game, people can't help but notice that Meghan's relationship with the media followed a very different pattern. Interviews, podcasts, documentaries, carefully curated revelations. So when Harry paints himself as the eternal victim of press intrusion, viewers at home are asking a very simple question. When did privacy become selective? And let's talk about the theater of it all. Because while these deeply personal details were being discussed, Harry sat there, expressions scrutinized, reactions analyzed, body language dissected, every blink, every grimace, every jaw clench, and you can guarantee that somewhere screenshots were flying around social media within minutes, which makes the claim of security risk and emotional harm feel increasingly hollow. You can't complain about being watched while standing on the brightest stage you've ever willingly stepped onto. The criticism escalates when you look at who Harry is targeting. Senior journalists, well-known royal editors, women with long careers, reputations, and public track records. The implication being that all of them independently engaged in unlawful behavior, lied about it, and somehow maintained this conspiracy for decades. That's not just a high bar, that's a fantasy novel.
And here's where the sarcasm writes itself, because Harry's argument boils down to this. I don't know how they got this information, therefore it must be illegal. That's not evidence, that's assumption, and courts don't run on vibes, they run on proof, emails, transactions, clear chains of wrongdoing, not feelings, not suspicion, not, well, it couldn't have come from anyone else, especially when the events in question happened 15, 20 years ago. Meanwhile, let's zoom out and look at the wider royal picture. While Harry is fighting ghosts in courtrooms, Prince William is quietly getting on with the job. No lawsuits, no public meltdowns, no relitigation of old relationships, just duty, consistency, and silence. Catherine, too, endlessly scrutinized, endlessly photographed, yet somehow managing not to wage war on the entire British press. That contrast matters, because monarchy, at its core, is about restraint, and Harry has none left. Public reaction has been brutal and, frankly, predictable. Social media isn't buying it. Comment sections are ruthless. People are asking why a man who claims to have moved on is still litigating his emotional past, why a happily married father of two is still circling a relationship that ended almost 2 decades ago, and why every grievance seems to require a global audience. And that's the broader implication here. This case isn't just about newspapers, it's about relevance, influence, control. Harry wants to rewrite how the press operates, but he also wants to control how he is remembered. The problem is, you can't curate authenticity through court filings. The more he talks, the more fractured the image becomes. And the saddest part? Chelsy Davy didn't ask for any of this. She moved on, built a family, chose peace. And now, because Harry can't let go, her name is trending again for all the wrong reasons. If that's not the ultimate betrayal of the privacy he claims to champion, I don't know what is. So yes, now we understand why Meghan Markle reportedly didn't want him pursuing this case. Because once you open this door, you can't close it. Once you drag the past into the spotlight, it doesn't just illuminate injustice, it exposes regret. And this week, regret was everywhere. Harry can insist this isn't about money. He can insist it's about truth. But from the outside, it looks like a man trapped in a loop, fighting battles that keep him stuck exactly where he claims he doesn't want to be. And the public? They're watching, questioning, and increasingly switching off. Because here's the final truth bomb. The more Harry talks about privacy, the less private he becomes. The more he fights the media, the more oxygen he gives it. And the more he revisits Chelsy Davy, the clearer it becomes that some chapters were never properly closed. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this case is about justice or about unresolved resentment? Is Harry protecting privacy or weaponizing it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this conversation isn't going away. If you're watching from the UK or Australia, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It costs nothing, but it makes a massive difference. Give the video a like if you found yourself nodding along, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. This channel stays independent because of you, and your support keeps these conversations honest, unfiltered, and very much alive. As with all high-profile legal cases, much of this discussion is based on publicly available reporting and public reaction, not confirmed findings of guilt.